Alright, welcome back to another video. I'm Scott with Technology Clips. Today's video I'm going to tell you why Apple hates its pro users and why I'm convinced I'm right. To be honest, this isn't a video I want to make. I think it's just a video that needs to be made. I love Apple. Don't get me wrong, I love Apple. I love Macs, I love iPhones, I love iPads, Apple Watches, AirPods. Some of their things that they've made have provided many great joys in my life. And I've been ripping on Apple recently in some of my videos, and it's not because I hate them, it's because I come from a place of love. But this video is just a place of disappointment. And I don't consider myself a pro user. Don't get me wrong. I edit 4K video from a camera sitting in my chair that's sitting right. I'm not editing crazy films. But I think what Apple is doing is proof that they've sort of lost their way. And I hate using this as, oh, Steve Jobs would never have done that. But I look at what Steve Jobs did and what Apple is doing, and you could see what Steve Jobs would have done and what Steve Jobs did in the past to reflect what he would have done in the future. And that's what this video is about. So if you want this just to be an Apple angry rant video, just click off. That's not what this is. This is my thoughts and just my disappointment in Apple. I have a list. I'll be going over everything. Let's just begin. I'm Scott with Technology Clips. If you want to join the community, hit subscribe, hit that like button, let me know in the comments. So Apple recently started shipping the new MacBook Pros with the Vega graphics. The Vega graphics are substantially more powerful than the Vega 20 I will be referring to the Vega 20 anytime I refer to the Vega graphics in the MacBook Pros, because I don't think you should even look at the Vega 16 because it's $100 more to get the Vega 20, and I think it's worth it. The Vega 20 graphics card is 35% more powerful than the RX 560X. And now 35% more powerful in graphical performance. Many people might say, well, I don't need that kind of power in my graphical performance. I don't need that power. I probably won't use it. It's not about if you will use it or won't use it. It's that in the near future, graphics cards are becoming more utilized in different software, whether it's video editing or whether it's any other type of editing or just basic pro tasks. I mean, video cards have become more powerful and programs are learning to use those more. So I think this is important. 35% more powerful those Vega graphics cards are, the Vega 20. It costs 12% more to get those. Kind of a no-brainer to get them, right? Well, the reason I'm upset is not because Apple released them. The reason I'm upset is because Apple released an update to a computer that they took almost a full year to update. The Coffee Lake CPUs had been out for almost a full calendar year by the time Apple had released the new MacBook Pros, and they still were late with the Vega chips. So people who bought those new MacBook Pros, who spent over $3,000 on those new MacBook Pros, kind of got screwed. And I'm not going to talk about upgradability with these MacBook Pros. I'm kind of over that, but I have some other gripes, so maybe I'm not over it. But we're looking at 35% more graphical performance for what is 12.5% more cost. Apple hates its pro users. I'm convinced Apple they just don't care. They don't care enough to think, oh, well, maybe we should have these pushed out earlier, or just push it back a little bit later, or just let everybody know, say, hey, we have Vega graphics coming out in these MacBook Pros here in the next few months. These are available now, but the new Vega graphics will offer substantially more performance, and just maybe let people know who are about to spend $3,000 on a computer. I don't know, that's just my opinion. I would never buy that computer, but it's just my opinion. I just get upset seeing this, because it's a classic new Apple move, because the old Apple wouldn't have done that. The old Apple liked upgradability. And don't say, oh no, they didn't. They didn't like upgradability. Well, yeah, they did. Apple treated its pro users differently when Steve Jobs was there. I hate using the old, well, Steve Jobs wouldn't have let that happen, because who knows what Steve Jobs would and wouldn't have done. But I'll tell you one thing, when Steve Jobs was alive, the Mac computers were the most powerful. Didn't matter how much they cost. They were the most powerful you could get. And also, they provided the easiest upgradability of all time. I'm just talking about the Pro computers right now. The Mac Pro cheese grater. Let's look specifically at 2009, 2010, 2012. To upgrade the graphics card, it was as easy as sliding something over. The most ingenious PCIe Express holder I've ever seen on a Mac ever, on any computer ever. You press a button, push it over, and then it pops out. You can take the graphics card out. Let's not just admire that for a few minutes. We should admire that for a lifetime, because no company has ever done anything like that. To get a graphics card out of a normal PC, you gotta stick your fingers back there, kind of get it in, then cut yourself on the top of your finger, push, and then you pull the graphics card out. No. With the Mac computer, it was the most elegant upgrade of all time. To upgrade the hard drives, did you have to fuss with any cables? No, you literally attach 4 screws that were already in there. So you just screw in 4 screws, and then guess what? You just slide it in, and the SATA drives would just connect up to the SATA connector and the power, and then you're good to go. Again, one of the most ingenious upgrade options I've ever seen. We've never seen that on any other computer. Okay, so that's 2 of them. Okay, well, what about, like, I don't know, the CD drive? Again, slide it out. This is the most cumbersome one, because this one required cables. But you just slide it out, you put in a couple screws, attach the cables, and then you're good to go. All right, let's look at the most important one, the RAM. I'm just kind of joking. The RAM was easy. RAM's always easy. The CPUs. The Mac Pros from 2009, 2010, and 2012 had the most amazing CPU upgradability ever. We have the best hard drive upgradability, the best graphics card upgradability, but the CPU upgradability was the best we have ever seen on any computer ever. Okay? You literally push in 2 knobs, pull the tray out, and all you'd have to do is put a new tray in. I'm not talking about untwisting it and putting a different CPU in that way. I'm talking about the real way the CPUs were meant to be upgraded. You push 2 tabs in, pull out, slide it out, grab your new one, pull out the tabs, push it in, click, and then you're literally good to go. To upgrade a CPU on any other PC, it's a couple of screws, and then you gotta dig your hand in there, disconnect the power, disconnect this, disconnect that, pull it out, take the retention band, take the retention arm, I should say, and then put the CPU and make sure you got thermal paste on it, clean off the cooler, put it back on, and then screw it back in, and then you're good to go. The Mac Pro was the most brilliant upgrade we have ever seen. Apple used to love upgrades. Don't get me wrong, they had computers that were locked down. The iMacs were always meant to be locked down. Those weren't meant for pros. Those became meant for pros when Apple gave up on its pro user base. Steve Jobs died on October 5th of 2011, and ever since then, Apple has pretty much given up on its pro users. The Mac Pro 2013 edition, the 6,1, is an absolute joke. Theoretically upgradable, but there was never really support provided for that. The D300s, D500s, and D700s were supposed to technically be upgradable, but we were never given any support. I say we like I would ever use it, but they were never given any support. The CPU was technically upgradable, but a bunch of screws and a bunch of things later to get to that upgrade. It's not nearly like the old Mac Pros where you could 2 tabs, pull out, grab the other one, push it in, upgraded CPU. I don't care about cost. I don't care about cost. It's not about cost with Apple. It's always about ease of use and how well it works together. And in this case, Apple has just lost it. They lost the pro base. It's too bad because Apple, I think what they have sort of become is reliant too heavily on their software to cover up all of their hardware flaws and mistakes. And it's just sad. The reason I'm harping on upgradability is because I think pros don't want to have to buy a new computer every year. I know a couple of people who do something like this who are more pro-based, and I've seen a bunch of videos on people who are more pro-based, and they would like to upgrade their computer. Nobody wants to get a new computer every single year. When the new one comes out, they don't want to have to buy a new one. They want to keep one and be able to upgrade it, make it last longer, push it further, and then buy the next one, because nobody just wants to spend a bunch of money. But if they could just upgrade it really easily, who cares if the upgrade's a little bit more expensive? The CPU upgrade in that Mac Pro is amazing. The GPU upgrade is amazing. But that's just not what it is anymore. It hasn't been like that since late 2012 when Apple released the first Retina MacBook Pro. We saw them pretty much give up on the Pro market. That was the first step. Non-upgradable RAM, non-upgradable anything, non-upgradable storage. Technically upgradable storage, but you'd have to buy a super expensive, only Apple NVMe drive. And so technically it's upgradable in one aspect, but not technically upgradable. And then ever since then, we saw the 2013 Mac Pro, the 2017 iMac Pro, which is cool, which is powerful. But again, it's kind of a joke. I mean, look at it. It's a pro computer that you cannot even see what's inside of it. You cannot see what's inside of your pro computer. I would think most pros have a basic understanding of their computer, how it works, upgrading it to a point. And I think that the iMac Pro is sort of almost a slap in the face. And then the iPad Pro, I don't know if that's just clever naming or what. I own an iPad Pro, 2017 iPad Pro. I love it. Not a pro device, but I love the iPad Pro. Very, very nice. How could you label something a pro device when there is no official app support from even you to actually use pro-based applications? Photoshop is just getting ported over to the iPad in 2019. iPads have been around for 8 years now, and Apple is just finally getting support for real apps. I know there's LumaFusion with video editing, and there are other apps, but why hasn't Apple supplied their own apps? That's what they're good at, right? That's what they make their software work really well with their hardware. Where are their apps at? The iPad Pro is a very, very clever way of charging people more money for something that they don't need. Impressive, but disappointing. So Apple hates their pro users. It's just upsetting, I guess, seeing this new Vega graphics card come out on the MacBook Pro. I'm just upset. I'm just disappointed. This doesn't even directly affect me, but I don't like seeing people who are sort of stuck with Apple just get bent over by Apple. It's frustrating. Like that's really all I can say is that it's just frustrating. It seems like they're just careless. It's just, oh well, whatever. They just keep buying our products. Well, Apple, maybe look at your stock price a little bit and see what's going on. I think people don't seem to be agreeing with the way you're running your business. I don't know though. I'm not 100% sure. So I don't know. It's upsetting. What do you think? This isn't an I hate Apple everything video. Yeah, some of their pricing's a little bit hokey, but this isn't even pricing based. Pros don't normally care about pricing. I'm just talking about the way that they've been treating them. It's just, oh yeah, we have an upgraded graphics card in the MacBook Pro 4 months after we just updated it. Like what? And then none of their pro computers that they've sold in the last 5 years have been upgradable. And I know maybe not every pro wants to upgrade, but I'm sure certainly some of them do. They want that ability to be like, oh, I want to keep this computer around for a few extra years and not just sell it the next year because something else came out, because I can't upgrade anything on this computer. It's just sad. A pro might be editing music, right? And maybe they just started sort of learning. They're getting pretty good, but they only really need 4 cores right now, or they only need 6 cores. So they buy a 6-core machine from Apple because they use Logic Pro X, right? But then, a year or two goes by and they become a lot better at it. And now instead of selling that old computer to buy a new one, they could just upgrade it to 10 cores and then more RAM, and then that could do what they needed to do. No. That's just not how it's done anymore. Sad to see it. I hope they change it with the Mac Pro, but it looks like they're sort of clueless right now with these new MacBook Pros. Maybe I'll regret making this video. I'm not even angry. Again, I'm just disappointed. Don't be like, oh, Apple treats all of their customers like crap. I love iOS. I love Apple. It just sort of seems like they lost what used to make them good, and they've sort of put all of their eggs in the mobile basket, which I'm sure will pay off for them. Apple's a very, very smart company. They've made a lot of money, and they've done a very good job making a lot of money. It just sucks to see a company sort of lose its way, I guess, I guess that's how I would put it, just sort of lose its way, because Mac OS is a dream. If you've never used a Mac computer, just please buy a 2012 Mac Mini with an i5 for $200 and just use Mac OS and tell me it's not leaps and bounds better than Windows 10. Lie to me and tell me it's not. Maybe it is for you, but for most people, I think Mac OS is just an absolute dream. And it's just the hardware. It's becoming less and less accessible, and the pro users are just getting totally screwed. It sucks. Apple hates its pro users now. Prove me wrong. Peace out.